Hi guys, welcome to another episode of MrLopezClasses.com. This is the chapter number 1 of our gasoline engine class, inboard and outboard. This is the second episode of the chapter 1, and we are going to continue with the process of disassembly an outboard two-stroke engine. And in the previous episode, we advanced until the reed valves. And we remove the reed valves. Before we continue with that process, I refresh a little. Remember, in 4-stroke engines, the intake manifold normally is on top of the engine and is connected with the intake ports of the head. Remember, the head valves have intake ports and exhaust ports. The intake ports are connected with the intake manifold, and the exhaust ports are connected with the exhaust manifold. This is in 4-stroke engines, because we have head valves, we have valves, and we have rocker arms, and we have camshaft. In 2-stroke engines, we don't have valves, we don't have camshaft. Yes, it's simple. It's simple. The intake manifold in 2-stroke engines is located in the crankcase. Remember, in 2-stroke engines, instead of the block and the oil pan, we have the block and the crankcase. Yes, the crankcase is in the bottom where the connecting rods are connected with the crankshaft. This is the crankcase. In 2-stroke engine, that area is the crankcase, and the intake manifold in 2-stroke is located over there. The air enters in the bottom. In the moment that the air enters in the crankcase, you have the reed valves. Those valves allow the input of air, but that block that the air goes out, because those are like a check valves I explained before in the previous episode. Okay, right now we are going to continue. We remove the reed valves, and right now we are going to remove the bracket where those reed valves are located, and after that we have access to the connecting rods, and we are going to remove the caps of the connecting rods. The connecting rods have the bearings, roller bearings, and we are going to continue with the head. We are going to check the head, we are going to remove the head, we are going to remove the piston, and we are going to disassemble the engine completely, and we are going to try to understand each part, each component, and we are going to analyze the difference between those components with the typical 4-stroke engines and with the typical diesel engine you remember in previous episode. Okay guys, right now we are going to continue. Okay, we are going to continue with the crankcase, the disassembly of the crankcase. This is the crankcase, this is the bracket. We are going to try to remove that bracket. Correct? Exactly. And after that bracket, we have access to the connecting rods. Exactly. This is in aluminum bracket. Look, those are in aluminum, and this is the crankshaft. This is the crankshaft. You remember in a previous engine, we have main journals and rod journals. The main journals are located in the big journals of the crankshaft. In this particular case, the main journals are in aluminum with this element, and aluminum on the block. Oh, those are main journals, and main journals. Oh, and I don't have a specific bearings on the main journals. In other words, the main journals are spinning in the aluminum of the crankcase. The crankcase is half and half, and the main journals are moving in between the crankcase. The main journals only have a couple of rings. Right now we are going to check those rings. Okay, this is the cover where the reed valves are located. Exactly. This is the cover. Perfect. Main journals, the second main journal, and the other main journal. Look, in between this main journal and this main journal, you have one connecting rod for one piston and other connecting rod for other piston. Remember this engine, this V. We have one connecting rod and other connecting rod. And main journal and main journal. In between both main journal, you have two connecting rods. The same with the other one. Main journal and connecting rod and connecting rod. And the same. Main journal and main journal, connecting rod and connecting rod. Alright? Okay. We are going to continue. What happened in those connecting rods in the bottom? One of these, the bottom one, is completely stuck because the bearings on the last piston, the bearings in the last connecting rod was destroyed. Lack of lubrication for some reason. And those pieces, those rollers in the bearings enter in the combustion chamber because the cylinder is hollow. Two holes in the bottom. One hole for intake, other for exhaust. The pieces of metal of the bearings enter through those holes and enter in the combustion chamber and destroyed the head of the piston and destroyed the head, the cylinder head. Right now we are going to analyze what happened. That was the problem. Look, salt water entered in this cylinder and destroyed that connecting rod, destroyed the bearing, and the pieces of metal of the bearing migrate into the intake port and enter into the combustion chamber. For that reason, we see a lot of corrosion in this area, in the connecting rod of the piston number 1. Exactly. Main journal. Okay, now we are going to remove the pistons. We are going to start with the process, removing the pistons, and we are going to analyze the connecting rods, the bearings, the piston rings, and we are going to see the difference with other type of typical 4-stroke engines. Alright, this is the situation. Okay, main journal. Look at the main journals. This is the metal, aluminum, cast aluminum. We don't have a specific plain bearings over there. It's the metal of the cast aluminum in direct contact with the metal, the steel of the crankshaft. Yeah, for that reason, if you have a play on the crankshaft, you need to replace completely this bracket, the bracket where the reed valves are located. Okay? Yeah. This is the area where the main journals of the bearings is spinning in permanent contact. And in this particular case, the surface is good. It's with a little amount of water. The coloration in that area is an indication. This is an indication that the oil in the crankcase was mixed with humidity, with water, and produced the coloration in that area. Correct. The same. This is the other main journal. Look at those pieces of metal. Those pieces of metal and are pieces of bearing. The bearings of the connecting rods in the last piston, in the bottom piston, was mixed with salt water. Immediately the metal, the temperature increased dramatically, and the bearing was destroyed. And those pieces of metals are over there, some parts, and other one enter in the combustion chamber. We are going to check right now what happened. Those are the metal for the problem. Okay, this is part of the crankcase. This is the surface, and exactly, this is the surface that match over there in order to keep the crankshaft in position. Yeah, the reed valves are located over there. Okay, we are going to remove the connecting rods. We are going to remove the connecting rods carefully, and in order to push the pistons out. We are going to remove the connecting rods here, over there, and after that, in the other side, we are going to remove the head. We are going to check the head. The head is different. Once again, this is a 2-stroke outboard. two-stroke direct fuel injection. It's not carbureted. This is a two-stroke engine with an injector in the center of the combustion chamber. Yeah, we have a spark plug, injector. We don't have valves because it's two-stroke. Okay, my friends, we are removing the connecting rods and we are going to push out the pistons. Correct? Connecting rods. Yes, and right now we have access to the bearings. Let me show to you those bearings. Yeah, those are the connecting rods and those are the bearings, the roller bearings. Look at the cap of the connecting rod. Exactly the same like in four-stroke engines. Yes, exactly. Look, those are the bearings. Those are the bearings. Roller bearings or needle bearings. Those are the rollers. It's half and half. Exactly the same like the plain bearings in four-stroke engines. It's the same, and right now we are going to remove the other one. We are going to remove the other one to analyze those bearings and remove the piston because we are going to check the pistons. Yeah, perfect. This is the other connecting rod. Exactly. Look at this. Exactly the same like with the four-stroke engines. You remember? We have holes where the oil enter and lubricate the bearings. Yes, remember that this is the crankcase where the oil is located and the air enter at high pressure and the air pressurize the oil into the bearings of the connecting rods. Yes, because the air at atmospheric pressure enter at high velocity and push the oil against those connecting rods. Yes, and the oil penetrate over there and lubricate those bearings, the needle bearings that you have over there, right? Exactly. Those are the holes for lubrication. And look at this arrow. This arrow on the cap of the connecting rod is indicating that the top of the engine where the flywheel is located is on top. In this particular case, in outboards, the point of reference is the top of the engine where the flywheel is located. Yeah, the top of the engine where the flywheel is located, and this arrow, that one, is an indication that the connecting rod is facing up. The same with the piston in the other side. Right now we are going to check. Be careful with this arrow. This is the arrow. In other manufacturers, it's not an arrow, it's a point, or it's a mark, or it's a dot. It's an indication that this is the top of the engine. Alright? The oil enter over there. Exactly. The oil enter at high pressure over there. Yes, because the air in the intake manifold enter, suction, and push the oil against those connecting rods and keep lubricated the rollers, the bearings inside of the connecting rod. Exactly. And look at the marks. The marks on the connecting rod in order to avoid that you put the cap in opposite direction. Remember, the position of the cap is critical because if you try to put the cap in other different position, when you try to turn the engine stops suddenly. Okay? Be careful, never mix it. Piston 1 should be in the position 1, piston 3 in position 3, and exactly the same with the caps. You need to be organized when you disassemble the engine. You need to prepare a table with a cardboard, and you need mark cylinder by cylinder the area, the piston rings, all the elements for each cylinder organized properly. Okay, those are the caps. Perfect. And right now I have access to the bearings. I can remove the bearings. Perfect. Those are the roller bearings. Yes, my friends, those are the roller bearings. And you have half and half. Those are the bearings. Yes, correct. This is the bearing. It's similar to the plain bearing, but in this particular case it's not plain, it's roller bearings. Okay, exactly. This is the cap. for the connecting rod. Okay, in the other side, Professor Rodriguez is removing the head, the cylinder head, and right now we are going to push the piston out, exactly the same like you did in the previous diesel class. Correct? And now in the other side, exactly, we are going to push the piston out. Alright, we are going to check in the other side. This is the head. My friends, the head is a piece of metal. It's a solid piece of metal with the holes in each cylinder, the hole for the injector and the hole for the spark plug. Injector and spark plug. Injector and spark plug. Injector and spark plug. That's it. We don't have valves. It's not complicated. It's a solid piece of aluminum. In this particular case, it's a special alloy, and that's it. No camshaft, no timing chain, no nothing. It's too simple. Alright, now the head is ready. Correct, and we are going to remove, exactly, we remove the head. And now the piston is going out, and we have the piston. Okay, my friends, that's the piston, and now we are going to talk about exactly, those are the piston rings, and correct, those are the piston rings. The piston rings have a special dot and a special mark where the end gap of the piston rings close. Because in two-stroke engines, on the piston, you have only two piston rings, only two compression rings. You remember in 4 strokes, we have 3 piston rings, 2 on top for compression, and 1 in the bottom to controller, the oil controller, to return the oil into the oil pan. In this particular case, we don't have an oil pan dedicated, no? The amount of oil necessary to lubricate enter from an external oil container. We have an oil pump that suctions the oil externally, introduce the oil circulate and return. And once again, yeah, we don't have a dedicated oil pump. Okay, for that reason, we don't need an oil controller piston ring on the pistons. The pistons for 2-stroke engines only have two piston rings, or 1 in some cases. Those piston rings are compression rings. And those piston rings close here, they have a special mark. Normally is 180 degrees separated, the gap of this with the gap of this, in order to avoid leaks. Correct? Exactly. This is the other end, 180 degrees separated. Perfect. Those are the piston rings, and this is the head of the piston. And you see that small pocket is not in the center of the piston. It's offset, and we need to verify where is the offset, in what side, and this is the indication that this is facing up. Right now we are going to check that. Correct. In this particular engine, the offset is going out through the outside of the engine, indicating that this is the up of the engine. All right. Correct. The piston is over there. The offset, exactly, indicating that the piston is facing up. And look inside of the cylinder. We are going to see right now 2 holes, the 2 ports for intake and exhaust. For one of those ports, for the intake ports, is that the pieces of metal damaged on the bearing enter in the combustion chamber. Look at this. This is the exhaust, and in the other side, this is the exhaust. In the other side, we have the hole for the input, exhaust and input. Yes, and those are the bearings that when the bearings are destroyed, the pieces of metal enter in the combustion chamber through the intake port. Yeah, this is the connecting rod with the piston. Look, remember, the connecting rod have 2 holes. One big hole, this one in the bottom, is connected with the crank pin on the crankshaft, and the other small hole is connected with the pin on the piston on top. in 4-stroke engines, both of those bearings are plain bearings. the bearing of the big hole is in bavic, and the bearing of the small pin on the piston is in bronze. You remember? Okay, perfect. In this particular case, both bearings are roller bearings, needle bearings. Look at this. Exactly. Look at the exactly. It's a needle bearing in the bottom. It's a needle bearing for the small hole on the connecting rod. Okay. This is the piston with the bearings. And this is the crankshaft. In the bottom, the crankshaft, because the crankshaft is located vertical, the crankshaft is vertical. Remember that the position of the engine is vertical. Yeah, the crankshaft is vertical, and the crankshaft in the bottom have a bearing double action. This bearing in the bottom of the crankshaft, this bearing in the bottom is double action. Is for radial loads and axial loads. This is a double action. Radial loads and axial loads. This is the bearing for the crankshaft in the bottom. Of course, in the crankshaft we have two seals. One seals in the bottom, like this, and other seal on top. Right now I am going to show to you both seals. Okay, exactly. Alright, this is the crankshaft, and normally, exactly, those are the bearings on the crank pin, and the connecting rod is located over there. Look at this bearing. This is one of the bearings in the bottom. This is a heavy bearing for dual function, axial loads and radial loads, both of them. And we have a seal here. Right now we are going to check those seals. Alright, that's the piston. And now we are going to remove the crankshaft, and we are going to analyze the crankshaft for two-stroke engines. It's pretty similar to the crankshaft of four-strokes. You remember one important feature about those crankshafts? Yes, they are hollows, and the oil pass internally in order to keep lubricated the bearings. In this crankshaft is pretty similar. It's hollow, with the small cavities internally to circulate the oil internally on the crankshaft. Okay, my friends, this is the situation. Exactly. We are going to try to remove the rest of the connecting rods in order to get access to the crankshaft and remove the crankshaft completely. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Exactly, we remove all the caps of the connecting rods, and right now, exactly, we are going to remove. Exactly. Look at those rings. Those rings in each main journal we have a ring, like a piston ring. Those rings are on the crankshaft. Remember that the crankshaft is in between two halves of the crankcase. You separate the crankcase, and the crankshaft is located over there. And when the halves of the crankcase close together, there are rings over there. One ring over there, other ring over there, other ring over there, other ring over there. In each main journal, you have like a piston ring, but this is a crankshaft rings, like those rings that you have on the screen right now. Those keeps a seal in between both crankcase. Yeah, those are exactly the rings. This is the problem. This is the piston with the problem, the last one. Okay, right now we are ready to remove the crankshaft. Exactly, this is the crankshaft, my friends. The crankshaft is out. This is the cylinder with the problem. Look at the pieces of the bearing. And the metal on the crank pin is completely corroded because salt water penetrated the piston number one. And the salt water was located over there, destroyed the bearing, and those pieces of metal migrate into the combustion chamber and destroyed the combustion chamber also. We are going to analyze right now what happened in the combustion chamber. Okay, my friends, exactly, those pieces of metal destroyed. But the rest of the bearings are in good condition. Look, bearings. In each crank pin you have a bearings. Perfect, perfect. Exactly, those pieces of metal was destroyed in that piston and entered in the combustion chamber. Okay, other crank pin. The bearings are in good conditions, but we are going to replace all of those bearings, of course. My friends, of course, this crankshaft should be sent to the machine shop. In the machine shop, probably they replace the crankshaft for a new one, and they verify the dimensions in each journal on the crankcase, and probably they rectify those dimensions, and they order a new crankshaft with the higher dimensions. 100% sure. All right. This is the bearing in the bottom. This is the bearing with the dual function. Axial, because the crankshaft is located vertical, and radial, because each time that the piston is moving up and down, produce radial loads. Yes, and this is the bearing. And the bearing in the bottom have a special seal. Yeah, that seal externally, that the seal that avoid that the oil from the crankcase enter in the middle section of the outboard and goes out through the propeller in the exhaust pipe. Yes, that seal in the bottom is a critical seal. Correct. Exactly. That's the bearing. The bearing axial loads and radial loads. Perfect. And we have another seal on top. That one, the big one. You see? Two seals. Those seals are exactly lip seals. That's the external side, and this is the internal side. Lips. Exactly. Exactly. The oil enter over there and expand. This is the external side. That seal is located over there, and other one in the bottom. One here and other on top. That's clear, my friends? Two seals, exactly the same like in any inboard 4-stroke engines. Normally the seal that is leaking constantly is the seal in the bottom. Perfect. One seal on top, other seal on the bottom. Okay, right now this is the crankshaft, and those are the rings. Those are the crankshaft rings that are located in each half of the crankcase. This is the bottom seal. You see, this is the seal in the bottom. It's located in that case, in that housing. That's the seal. That's the seal. That seal is exactly the same like this, and it's located in the bottom. This is a critical seal. If that seal is leaking, you have a leak of oil into the middle section, the exhaust gases section in the outboard, and of course you have oil coming out through the exhaust pipe. This is not good. All right. Okay, that's the crankshaft. Exactly, those are the bearings. One connecting rod per each side, because it's a V engine. It's a V engine. Correct, my friend. This is the crankshaft, and those are the bearings. Let me show to you. Those are the bearings. Let me show to you. Those are the bearings. In each main journal, you have a couple of bearings. One here, other here. One here, other here. One here. Yeah, in each main journal, you have a couple of bearings. The name of those bearings is a crankshaft bearings. Okay. And we are ready to remove the piston, except those two pistons in the bottom that because the temperature, those connecting rods and pistons are completely locked on the block, and that was the problem, because salt water enter in the bottom of the engine. Okay, my friends, we are going to continue in the next episode with the analysis of the head. We are going to remove the head, and we are going to finish with the disassembly of the engine. Thank you.